You think police officers are strong. You think they don't cry. You think they understand danger better than anyone. But no one ever tells you the most dangerous thing in life is not a criminal. It's the wrong person you fall in love with. My name is Dorian Vance. I was a police officer in New York City. I worked long hours, chased criminals, and saw things most people cannot even imagine. Blood, fear, lies, it was all normal for me. But love. I never understood love until I met her. Her name was Selene Marrow. She was my senior officer. That means she was above me. Everyone respected her. She was smart, confident, and always calm. When she spoke, people listened. She looked strong, but sometimes, when no one was watching, I felt like she was hiding pain. One night after a long shift, we were sitting together in the station. She looked tired. I asked, "Are you okay?" She smiled a little and said, "I'm just tired of life." That was the first time she opened up to me. After that, we started talking more. Every day a little more, coffee after work, small talks, laughing at little things. Slowly, she became important to me. Then one day, she told me about her life. She said she had a husband, but they didn't love each other anymore. She said they were only together because of their children. She looked sad when she said it. "I feel trapped," she told me. At that moment, I felt something in my heart. I wanted to help her. I wanted to make her happy. And that's how it started. I fell in love with her, slowly, deeply, and blindly. I started doing everything for her. I took her shopping in big stores. I bought her expensive bags, shoes, and perfumes. I didn't care about money. When she smiled, it felt like I won something. She would hold my hand and say, "You are the only one who understands me." And I believed her. I trusted her more than anyone. But sometimes she disappeared. She wouldn't answer calls. She would say she was busy or tired or dealing with family problems. I never questioned her. I trusted her too much. Then something strange happened. One day, another officer joked with me. He said, "Careful, man, you're not the only one." I laughed and said, "What do you mean?" But he didn't answer. He just walked away. That moment stayed in my head. Then another officer said something similar. Now I started feeling uncomfortable. Why were people saying this? That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about everything. Her words, her actions, the times she disappeared. For the first time, I felt doubt. So I decided to find the truth. Not as a cop, but as a man who was in love. I started watching her. I stayed near her house sometimes. I watched from far away. I felt bad doing it, but I needed answers. And then I saw something that changed everything. A man walked into her house. I thought maybe it was normal. But then another man came on a different day. Then another. And another. Each time a different man. My heart started breaking piece by piece. One day I saw something even worse. A police officer like me kissed her in a parking lot. The same woman who told me she loved me. The same woman who held my hand. The same woman who said I was special. She was lying, not just to me but to everyone. And the biggest shock, her husband was still living in that house. He had no idea. I stood there watching from a distance, feeling like my world was destroyed. Everything I believed was fake. Everything she said was a lie. At that moment, I had two choices. I could walk away and forget her, or I could find out the full truth. Because now, this didn't feel like just cheating. This felt bigger. This felt dangerous. And deep inside, I knew one thing for sure. Selene Marrow was not just a liar. She was hiding something much darker. And I was about to find out what it was. Subscribe now, because what I discovered next was not just shocking, it was criminal. You think the worst pain is when someone breaks your heart. You're wrong. The real pain starts when you realize the person you loved was never real. And what I discovered next about Selene Marrow didn't just hurt me, it scared me. I couldn't stop now. I had already seen enough to know she was lying, but I needed proof. Not just for my heart, but for the truth. Because something about all this didn't feel normal. This wasn't just cheating. This felt planned. So I started investigating her, like I would investigate a criminal. I checked her work schedule. I checked her duty hours. I checked when she said she was busy and compared it with what I saw with my own eyes. Nothing matched. The times she told me she was working late, she was meeting other men. The times she said she was with her children, she was somewhere else. She had a perfect system of lies. Then one night, everything changed. I was sitting in my car, parked across her street, watching like I had done many times before. It was cold, quiet, and dark. Around 11:40 p.m., a black car stopped in front of her house. A man came out. But this time, something was different. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't relaxed like the others. He looked serious, dangerous. The kind of man you don't want to mess with. Selene opened the door quickly like she was expecting him. They didn't hug. They didn't act like lovers. They acted like partners. I felt a strange fear in my chest. This was not normal. The man went inside. I waited. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Then the lights in the house turned off. Almost 1 hour later, the man came out again. He looked around carefully like he didn't want anyone to see him. That moment, I knew something was very wrong. The next day at the station, I couldn't focus. My mind was full of questions. Who was that man? Why did Selene act different with him? So I did something risky. I used the police system quietly. I searched the car's number plate. My hands were shaking. When the result came up, my heart stopped. The car was linked to a man named Victor Hale. He was not just anyone. He was under investigation in a secret case. Fraud, blackmail, illegal deals. My breathing became heavy. Why was Selene meeting a man like him? This was not just about relationships anymore. This was crime. Now everything started making sense. Different men, different backgrounds, different jobs, banker, police officer, city worker. She wasn't just meeting them randomly. She was choosing them. Each man had something useful. Money, power, information. Selene was not a victim. She was playing a game, and I was just one of her pieces. I felt anger rising inside me, not just because she cheated, but because she used me. She knew I was a police officer. She knew I trusted her. She knew I would never suspect her, and she used that. That night, I went back to her house again. But this time, I was not just watching, I was ready. Around midnight, I saw her leave the house. She was dressed differently, not like a cop, not like someone going out normally. She looked secretive. I followed her. She drove across the city through dark streets until she stopped near an old building in Lower Manhattan. The place looked quiet, almost empty, but I knew better. She went inside. I waited a few seconds, then followed. My heart was beating fast. Step by step, I moved inside the building. It was dark, silent. Then I heard voices. I moved closer, slowly, carefully, and then I saw something I will never forget. Selene was standing in a room with 3 men, Victor Hale and 2 others. On the table there were files, photos, money, and something else, police documents. My blood ran cold. Selene was not just lying to me. She was leaking police information. She was helping criminals. She was part of something much bigger. And suddenly, everything became clear. The men she was meeting, they were not just lovers. They were targets or tools. She got close to them, gained their trust, and used them. And I was the biggest fool of all, because I gave her access to things she should never have seen. I felt anger, pain, and guilt all at once. I wanted to walk in, confront her, shout at her. But I didn't, because now I understood something very important. If I made one wrong move, I could lose everything. My job, my life, maybe even more. So I stepped back quietly without making a sound, and I left. But inside me, something had changed. The man who loved Selene was gone. Now there was only one thing left inside me: revenge. Not emotional revenge. Smart revenge. Careful revenge. The kind that destroys everything. I went back to my car, looked at the city lights, and made a decision. I was going to expose her. I was going to destroy her game. And this time, she would not see it coming. Subscribe now. Because what I planned next was not just revenge. It was a trap that could take down everyone involved. The most dangerous revenge is not loud. It does not scream. It does not break doors. It smiles, stays calm, and waits for the perfect moment. That was the kind of revenge I wanted, because by now I knew the truth. Selene Marrow was not just cheating on me. She was part of something dirty, dangerous, and criminal. And if I wanted to bring her down, I had to be smarter than her. That night, after I saw her with Victor Hale and the other men in that dark building in Lower Manhattan, I did not sleep at all. I sat in my apartment with all the lights off, staring at the wall, thinking about every mistake I had made, every gift I bought her, every lie I believed, every time I trusted her. But the worst thought of all was this: I had told her things I should never have told anyone. Small things from work. Not full case details, not enough to get me arrested right away, but enough to help a smart criminal connect dots. I felt sick. I kept asking myself one question: how long had she been doing this? Days, months, years. How many men had she used before me? How many lives had she ruined while pretending to be a sad woman trapped in a bad marriage? The more I thought about it, the colder I became. The next morning I walked into the precinct like everything was normal. I kept my face straight. I did my job. I answered questions. I signed reports. And when Selene walked in, wearing that same calm expression and carrying a coffee like the world was perfectly fine, I looked at her and forced myself to smile. "Morning," she said. "Morning," I replied. She studied my face for a second, maybe checking if I had learned something. But if she was suspicious, she didn't show it. She stepped closer and touched my arm lightly. "You okay? You seem tired." That almost made me laugh. I was tired, yes. Tired of lies, tired of being used, tired of loving a woman who did not even have a real heart. "I'm fine," I said. She smiled and walked away. That was when I understood something important. Selene believed she was in control. She thought I was still blind, and that was good, very good, because people make mistakes when they feel safe. So I started building my own case. Not officially. Not yet. First, I bought a small notebook and wrote down everything I knew. Dates, times, names, cars, places, every man I had seen visiting her, every strange thing she had said, every lie that didn't match reality. Then I made a second list, possible connections. Victor Hale, the banker, the city worker, the patrol sergeant. I didn't know yet how they all fit together, but I knew they did. For a whole week I lived two lives. By day I was Officer Dorian Vance, calm and focused, doing my job. By night I was a man following shadows. I watched Selene leave work. I watched where she went. Some nights she went home. Some nights she met men at restaurants, parking garages, hotels, or old office buildings. She changed cars twice. She used burner phones. Sometimes she dressed like an officer. Sometimes she looked like a businesswoman. Sometimes she looked like someone going to a party. She knew how to become whatever people wanted to see. That was her real gift. Not beauty, not charm, transformation. She could turn herself into a dream, and then rob you while you were still smiling. One Friday night, I followed her to a private club in Midtown. It was one of those expensive places where rich people pretended they were respectable while making dirty deals in dark corners. I stayed outside and watched who came in and out. An hour later, I saw Victor Hale arrive. 10 minutes after him, a city contracts officer walked in. Then a lawyer I recognized from a corruption hearing 6 months earlier. My heart pounded. This wasn't random. This was a network, a trap built with secrets, seduction, and blackmail. I wanted proof, real proof, the kind that could not be denied, so I took pictures from a distance. Cars, faces, times. Then I waited until Selene came out. She was laughing with Victor, her hand on his chest like she cared about him too. I almost stepped out right there, almost ended everything in the street, but anger is what fools use. I needed patience. The next big break came 2 nights later. Selene texted me first, "I miss you. Can we meet tomorrow after shift?" I looked at the message for a long time. A month ago, that text would have made me happy. Now it made my skin crawl. Still, I answered, "Of course." The next evening, we met at a restaurant near the river. She wore a dark red coat and a smile that used to weaken my knees. She sat across from me like nothing was wrong, like she had not been living 5 different lives behind my back. "You've been distant," she said softly. "Work," I replied. She nodded, then reached for my hand. "I need you, Dorian." There it was again, the same trick, the same sweet voice, the same careful sadness in her eyes. For a second I remembered the old me, the man who would have melted the moment she touched him. But that man was gone. I decided to test her. "What about your husband?" I asked. She sighed perfectly, like she had practiced it. "Lucien and I are over. We just live in the same house because of the children, you know that." Lie. "What about the divorce?" She looked down, then back up. "Soon, I promise." Another lie. Then she leaned closer and lowered her voice. "When all this is over, I want a real life, with someone who truly loves me." I looked straight into her eyes and realized something terrifying. She did not even feel guilty. She had lied so much that truth meant nothing to her anymore. I squeezed her hand and pretended to believe her. That was when she made her mistake. She relaxed, and relaxed people talk. Over dinner, she started complaining about important men who thought they were smarter than everyone else. She laughed about how easy it was to make them trust the wrong person. She didn't say names, but she said enough to confirm what I already feared. She was getting information from these men. Private things, career-ending things, things worth money. When dinner ended, she kissed my cheek and whispered, "Don't stop believing in me." I nearly felt sick. The next day, I did something I had been avoiding. I went to see Lucien, not as a lover, not as a rival, as a man who needed one final piece of the truth. I parked near Celine's house and waited until she left with the kids. Then I walked up and knocked on the door. Lucien answered wearing a tired face and an old sweater. He looked like a man who had not slept peacefully in years. "Yes," he asked. "My name is Dorian," I said. "I work with Celine." His eyes changed instantly. Not shock, not anger, recognition, like he had been expecting this day. He stepped outside and closed the door behind him. "What did she tell you?" he asked quietly. I didn't answer right away. Then I said that your marriage is over. Lucien gave a sad little smile. "That's what she tells all of them, all of them." The words hit me like a punch. He looked at me for a second, then said, "You're not the first officer to come here, just the first one brave enough to knock." I couldn't breathe. "How many?" I asked. He rubbed his face. I stopped counting. Then he looked me straight in the eyes and said the words that changed everything. "You think she's just cheating. She's not. She keeps files, pictures, messages, records. She uses people, and when she's done, she owns them." My chest tightened. "Where?" I asked. Lucien hesitated. "There's a storage unit in Brooklyn. She thinks I don't know. She keeps boxes there, laptops too. A storage unit. Real evidence." This was bigger than heartbreak now, bigger than revenge, bigger than me. I thanked him and walked back to my car with shaking hands. I finally had a direction, a place, a chance, and I knew exactly what I had to do next. Subscribe now, because part 4 is where I open that storage unit, uncover Celine's darkest secret, and set the trap that could destroy her forever. The truth does not knock before it enters your life. It crashes in, breaks everything, and leaves you standing in the ruins of who you used to be. By the time I drove toward that storage unit in Brooklyn, I was no longer the man who had fallen in love with Celine Marrow. I was something colder, something focused, something ready to end this. It was past midnight when I reached the place. The streets were quiet, the kind of silence that makes every sound feel louder. I parked my car across the road and sat there for a moment, staring at the metal gates of the storage facility. My hands were steady, but my heart was not. Because deep down, I knew, whatever I was about to find inside, there was no going back after this. I got out of the car and walked slowly toward the entrance. The gate was locked, but I had access. Police badge, authority. One swipe and I was inside. Rows of storage units stretched in front of me, dark, cold, silent. Lucien had given me the number. Unit 317. I walked down the narrow path, my footsteps echoing softly. When I reached the door, I stopped. For a second, I hesitated. Then I opened it. Inside, there were boxes. Not just one or two, many, stacked neatly, organized, like someone had been building something here for a long time. I stepped in and closed the door behind me. Then I opened the first box. Files, dozens of them. Each file had a name. Men I had seen. Men I hadn't, police officers, businessmen, lawyers, city workers. Each file had photos, messages, records, private information. My hands started shaking. This was not just cheating. This was control. She collected secrets and kept them. Blackmail, power, fear. I opened another box, more files, more names. Then I found something worse, a laptop. I turned it on. It took a few seconds, then the screen lit up. Folders, dozens of folders, each labeled with a name. Inside, videos, recordings, private moments, conversations, everything. She had been recording people, saving everything, building a weapon made of human weakness. My stomach turned. Selene Marrow wasn't just playing with hearts. She was destroying lives. I stepped back, breathing heavily. Now I understood everything. Why she chose certain men. Why she acted different with each one. Why she never got caught. Because she wasn't just part of the game, she controlled it. For a moment, I closed my eyes. I remembered her smile, her voice, the way she said my name. And then I opened my eyes again. That woman never existed. Now it was time. I pulled out my phone. One call, internal affairs, then another. A trusted detective from a federal task force. I gave them everything. Location, evidence, names. Within 20 minutes, the place was surrounded. Agents, officers, lights flashing. I stepped outside as they rushed in. And for the first time, I felt something strange. Not happiness. Not relief, just emptiness. The next morning, the city exploded with news. Major blackmail network exposed. Police officer linked to criminal ring. Dozens of officials under investigation. Selene Marrow's name was everywhere. She was arrested at her own house, in front of her children, in front of her husband, in front of the same life she pretended to protect. I was there, standing at a distance, watching. She came out in handcuffs. For the first time, she didn't look strong. She didn't look confident. She looked human, broken. And then she saw me. Our eyes met. For a second, everything went silent. No sirens, no voices, just me and her. She understood. I was the one. Not the man who loved her, but the man who ended her. She didn't say anything. She just stared. And then they took her away, just like that. It was over. Weeks later, the case was still growing. More arrests, more names, more secrets coming out. The damage she caused was bigger than anyone expected. As for me, I kept my job, barely. There were questions, investigations, doubts, but in the end I told the truth, and for once the truth was enough. People ask me now, do you still believe in love? I don't answer. Because some stories don't leave you with answers. They leave you with scars. And one lesson I will never forget, the most dangerous criminals don't always carry guns. Sometimes they carry a smile. Subscribe, because not every story ends here, and some betrayals leave marks that never fade.